What's up, guys? So I have an update on my life, everything that's going on here. I apologize. It's a beautiful day. Any noise here in the background, they're working on a roof over there. They were just mowing and blowing leaves in the other area, and then back behind me there's a landscaping company fixing someone's yard, for spring. So if you hear lots of small motors and nail guns and stuff, that's what it is. So where do I pick up? I think the last time I was talking about how I might have to move, and that is final. I am, in fact, being forced to move. I don't want to. I'm trying to make the best of things, be positive. Not only do I have to move, I have to find a new job. Not only because of geographics, I'm not going to commute an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it happens to be, or even like 40 minutes back and forth. It's just, gas is a killer these days, of course, for everyone. But it's not just because of that, it's just I need to make more money. So we're going to talk about a couple things in this video. We're going to talk about my lease idea, which failed, and thank God it failed at the last second. I talked to someone in my family who is a retired judge and for Pennsylvania, and I'm glad I called him. We'll talk about that in a little bit, because I could have possibly had some jail time if I went through with my plan, which wouldn't be very good, obviously. Besides that, we're going to talk about the job situation, and we're going to talk about YouTube, posting videos on YouTube, all kinds of stuff. So just going to roll with the punches. I don't have a script or anything. You guys know I hit record on the camera and I just start thinking out loud. So let's start with the house. I do have to move. The house was foreclosed on. I rent here, if you didn't watch the first video, and I've been here in this particular house 13 years. My landlord I met once when I first came here, and my landlord is flamboyantly gay. The story is he had no relationship with his father because he was gay, and his father passed away, and he inherited the house. He was an only child, and it was a big surprise to him. We had this discussion the one and only time I've met him, and so he was never looking to be a landlord. This was just basically a property that he can fall back on. And as it turns out, it was just an asset that he took a loan out on that he couldn't pay. That's why he's being foreclosed, or was foreclosed now. So let's back up a little bit more. About 20 years ago or so, my family moved to this community, all right, in Pennsylvania. And the real reason was we lived in Jersey and it just got too expensive. They got forced out. Wanted to start a new life somewhere that was cheaper, and they came up here, and it was great and everything. A couple of years in, they decided to move to a different area. When they did that, it was about, I want to say 6 months to a year when I left the house. I decided, hey, I got to branch off, do my own thing. They're already in, having discussions about moving, and I'm like, you know what, I like it here. I want to stay here. It's time for me to start my life. I'm definitely old enough. I think I was in my mid-20s or even late 20s at the time. It's time to just do it on my own, right? As you guys know, I sold a bunch of silver to make that happen. And I rented a place that was in the community somewhere else. And I was there for about a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years, I think. And then this place opened up. At the time, I was told about this house from my previous boss, employer. And that's something, I'll talk a lot about her in the future. But that's not for today's video. Some of you guys even probably know who it is and remember from old videos if you watch a long time. But there's stories and stories on stories for that. I can sit here and talk for days. That's a very long story I'm not even going to begin to touch on today. But anyway, for selfish reasons, she had let me know about this house. I said, oh, cool. It's a nice house. It's a little bit, slightly bigger. The other one was a shack. I loved it, though. Had a wood burning stove. It was just me, so it was perfect. I didn't mind a small little spot. Little kitchen. It was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Little living room, cozy, tucked away in the woods, lots of trees and stuff. But this place is a little bit bigger. The problem is that the previous owner, he was addicted to the stock market, and he would just be home all day and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke. The walls were literally covered in tar. It was yellow. It wasn't supposed to be yellow. I think originally it was white. So when I talked to my landlord, who's not my landlord anymore now. But anyway, when I talked to him about renting the place, I said, look, you know, this whole place needs a paint job, some new fans, stuff like that. And he agreed to, you know, take that off if I did all the work and bought everything. The first, I think it was a month and a half or something, like $1,500 was, or at the time, actually, it was $800 a month. It's 13 years ago. It was $800 a month. So I want to say it was maybe 1.5 to 2 months off the rent, you know, like so that I can buy all the stuff and redo the house. It was obviously beneficial to him. You know, his house would get caught up and livable and everything else. So we did that. It was a good deal. I paid $800 rent here, I want to say for like 3 or 4 years. Everything went up. Costs went up for everything across the board. And he upped the rent to $1,000 a month. Now, at the time, that was, it was more money, but it was still reasonable. Since then, I paid $1,000 a month to rent this house. It is a double lot. I do have the lot next door that can't be built on, which was nice because, you know, I'm on a corner piece of property here. So it's just, even though there's houses everywhere, they're far away. They're, you know, I'm not like close to anyone. I had pretty good privacy. I can go out and do stuff in the backyard, which was nice. So yeah, I paid $1,000 for, like, you know, a decade. And the problem with that is that now that I'm forced to move, $1,000 doesn't get you anything. In my area, you literally can't rent anything for $1,000. The cheapest place is like $1,500 for an apartment. That's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And so what that means is I have to make more money. And, you know, it's okay. That's fine. That's life. Things happen, right? So I got lucky. You know, instead of seeing it as a negative thing, like I'm being thrown to the wolves, I'm not. I got very, very lucky in that I was able to, you know, have a beautiful house here for $1,000 a month. Now, the reason that the rent never went up, and he just asked a couple times, and I've literally just said no, is because he neglected this house quite a bit. There's water damage in many different areas. There's electrical issues in many areas. There's just all kinds of problems. So as one problem after another stacked up over the years, hey, you got to fix this, and you know, I'm tight on money, and there was always excuses, right? Again, this whole property is like an afterthought to him. It's not his little baby, you know, that he's taking care of and trying to rent out. He doesn't really care. So he's trying to do the minimal work possible, spending the least possible to keep this house running and getting my rent checks. So that was kind of like, it was like an unwritten agreement. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he's not going to up the rent, and I won't let him up the rent or I'll leave. But I have these problems, and I've been dealing with these problems for a long, long time. And sometimes, like, when something happened that had to get fixed, like I've had water leaks before, and they have to get fixed, obviously. It would always come out of the rent. He never had money. At least he never wanted to pay. I don't really know his finances, you know, so I can't say that for sure. But I can tell you he was definitely scrounging for money, because he traveled a lot, apparently. That's what he always told me. He would send messages like, hey, yo, can I get the rent early because I'm leaving for this trip and stuff. It put me in a bind. I only got paid once a month for many, many, many years, right? All of my 16 years on YouTube, I got one check. One, well, you know, instant deposit, I guess. It was checks for a long time, but so that's a lifestyle that's hard for some people to deal with. You know, I mean, if you get paid once a month, you got to do all your bills. And when your bills are done, you have to find money to last you a month. You know what I mean? A lot of people are so used to getting paid bi-weekly or even weekly. So it's like, oh, you know, I need some money, whatever. That's right, I'm going to get paid on Friday. That never happened for me. I got paid one Friday every month. And it wasn't always a Friday, it was a random day. But, you know, I relied on that. And by the way, these are my choices. It's not like, you know, I was forced to do anything. This is the way I chose to live. You know, so I'm not looking for any sympathy or anything like that at all. Okay, let me just make that clear, because I know some people, for some reason, take these videos as like, boo-hoo for me videos. They're not. I'm just sharing what's going on. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to practice a life. You just live a life, and sometimes you make good decisions, sometimes you don't. And hopefully you learn from them, and you grow. And unfortunately, by the time you understand how life works, you die. You're just old now. You've made all the mistakes. You've learned from all of them. and then you die. So that's a little unfair, I suppose, but you know, no one said life was fair. So anyway, yeah, I would, you know, according to my lease, I would have to owe the rent on the first of every month, but I always paid early. For 13 years, I would always pay like, you know, a week or two early, just because when I got paid, I paid my bills. That was what my life was like. It's what it still is that on payday, this bill gets paid, this bill gets paid. I do it all at once. That's what I'm used to. So that I know, okay, here's what I'm left with. This little bit is what I have for food and gas and stuff like that, right? Any kind of extra stuff. But I always prioritize bills. It's very important to pay your bills. So, yeah, even though I gave it to him early, he would still ask early, like 3 weeks, like, oh, I'm going on this trip, or I'm doing this, or whatever, going out of the country, you know, can I get rent early? And I have to figure it out. Sometimes I would, you know, I was always, what's the word? I was always, like, I made it work. I can't think of the word right now, but I always wanted to make him happy. You know, he is my landlord. I didn't want him to be annoyed or upset by me, even though it was definitely warranted in many, many cases, you know. But you gotta, you know, you gotta play by the rules. You catch more flies with honey. Does that make sense? I'm not gonna argue with my landlord. Then he just won't want to renew the lease if he doesn't like me. At least that's how I think. So yeah. So fast forward now. Actually, let me tell you the story. The one time I met him before we signed the first lease, he came down from New York City, came to the community, and this is, by the way, only like the second or third time he's ever even been here before. Forgot where his house was. Literally got lost. I had to give him directions to his own house. So he came here with his boyfriend, and he looks like, it's hard to explain. If you watch 90 Day Fiancé, if you know the gay couple, the male gay couple that's on that show, he looks like the Mexican guy. Very, very similar to him as far as appearance. But anyway, so he came with his boyfriend. They were super nice. They, you know, knocked on the door. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you know, you decorated it beautiful in here. It looks really, you know, wonderful and clean and well kept. Thank you so much. And they brought me a housewarming gift, which was, and he didn't, by the way, all these years, he had no idea what he did for work. I didn't ask him. He didn't ask me. I liked it that way. I didn't want him knowing that I made videos because he might not approve of certain things. I don't know what his political stances are, if he's anti-gun and I'm making gun videos, or if he doesn't like knives or sees them as weapons or what. You know, like, I didn't want to mess with that at all. It's private. You know, I don't know what you're doing. You don't know what I'm doing. But hey, what? I'm paying my rent on time and early. So that was it. There's no questions there. But anyway, just by chance, he gave me a really nice chef's knife. It was like a whooshed off 8-inch chef's knife. It was really quite the gift, you know, for a housewarming gift for his own house, which it's just so funny and weird. But anyway, I loved it. To be honest, I don't know what happened to that knife. I've had it, I used it for years and years and years, but I've had so many different, you know, kitchen type cutlery stuff that I don't know what happened to it at this point. I kind of wish I still had it. It's kind of a memory, but I thought that was wonderful. And he said, hey, you know, I want to take out to dinner. I said, oh, that's super nice. You don't have to pay or anything. I'd love to have dinner with you guys. But, you know, please don't pay with, you know, for me or anything. I'd feel weird about it. I'll pay my own way, but you guys can pick the place. That's fine. So I looked it up, and close by here is a town called Milford. Milford, Pennsylvania is very popular. Very nice little town, but they're also very, like, they're pro-gay. You know what I mean? Like, so it was a comfortable spot for him and his boyfriend to go to a restaurant. We went to a place called the Dimmick Inn. It's funny because whenever I say it, I don't like pronounce it properly or enunciate properly. So instead of the Dimmick Inn, I always say the Dominican. And the Dominican is not what it's called. It has nothing to do with it. But yeah, it was an openly gay bar with a restaurant. And I didn't even know this, by the way. I mean, I knew my landlord was gay, obviously. He brought his boyfriend. But I didn't know about the restaurant or anything like that. I've been there a few times. It's not like, you know, they have extra gay stuff. It's just whatever. You don't really know. It's not like, you know, there's a bunch of gay people just like having parades all the time. It's just a regular town. It's a beautiful historic town. It just so happens that was important to him. So, yeah, okay, that's cool. That's fine. And we had dinner together, and I dressed up really nice, you know, so it's just the three of us. And, you know, we had a great dinner. We had a good discussion. We talked about the house, talked about life, just in general, but keeping things very kind of vague. Like I said, he didn't really talk about work. I didn't really talk about work. He was kind of focused on his boyfriend at the time, to be honest. And that's it. Had a great time. It's great to meet you. I'd love for you to live in my house. You're taking care of it great. You know, we'll want to renew the lease next year. You know, I want you to stay here for as long as you need or you can or whatever. Cool, cool. So that was it. Then I got like a text message from him. I want to say a month or two later. He was really sad because he broke up with his boyfriend, and it's weird because that was a personal message. It wasn't business related. He's just my landlord. We're not friends. We don't hang out. It's literally the only time I ever saw him my entire life. But I don't know. Maybe he's feeling alone, so he just sent a message, and I'm like, oh, you know, hope everything works out. You know. Then I from that point on, I didn't really hear from him. He never ever once in 13 years. Hey, how's it going with the house? Not once, ever. Hey, what's going on? You know, nothing like that. Whenever there was a problem, I would have to tell him, hey, how's it going, so-and-so? Here's the problem, how do we fix it? And then he'd be like, oh, no, and it was very like, it was kind of like talking to a teenager, you know what I'm saying? It's like asking, if you have kids, I don't have kids, but if you had kids and you got like a 13-year-old boy in your house and you like ask him to like make the bed. That's what it was like. It was like pulling teeth. I'm just like, oh, well, you know, and I had to organize everything. He would say, hey, can you find an electrician for me or whatever, that, you know, do some research. And I always did. I didn't have to. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't. But hey, I live here. I want to make sure it gets done, that kind of stuff. But as it turns out, the first couple like, repairs for the house, turns out he didn't pay the people. He'd have electricians come and they'd send him a bill and he would just ghost them. At some point there was a pest problem and the pest people came and they put up traps and everything, and then I got a call from them. Sorry, just a reminder, I got somewhere to be soon. Anyway, so yeah, like I got a call from the pest company like, hey, you know, you didn't pay, we're supposed to come back or whatever, but we can't, you have to pay. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just rent. Like, that's not my, you know, I don't know what to do here. And I contacted my landlord and he's, oh no, I sent them. And he was just full of lies, full of deceit. And he just screwed one person after another over until like I literally had a hard time finding plumbers to come, finding electricians to come, because everyone did work here and did not get paid. So at some point, it was just like, I have to pay. You know what I mean? And the whole, like, can you take it out of the rent thing? It ended up working out in the end because, like I said, if an electrician came and it was like a $600 repair or something, I felt comfortable paying the guy $600 and just not paying $600 towards the rent. Do you know what I'm saying? So I owed $1,000, so hey, I'll just give him $400 when rent's due, and I know that guy got paid, and I know if I need work, I can call that guy to come back. But the problem, as you can imagine, is when repairs cost more than my rent. And that happened a couple times, where it was, you know, $1,400, you know, $1,200, and it's like, all right, well, I can give $1,000, that's my rent money, but I don't have more than that. And I know my landlord's not going to pay me back, kind of a thing, you know, so that became a little fishy, where I'd pay a portion of it, and then he would have to pay the rest, but I would be on him, you know, I'd be on him like white on rice. Did you pay him? Did you pay him? Oh, yeah, no, you know, and then he would eventually pay them, and I make sure they got paid. But yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg. I have so many stories with him, but it's not for this video. I just wanted to kind of give you like a grand view maybe of what was going on here. So, but that's why the rent never went up. It should have went up. This house right now, if it was in good condition, which it's not, it's absolute horror show. I don't know who's going to buy this house, to be honest. And God bless them, because they have lots to deal with. It'd be cheaper to just knock this house down, demolish it, take it away, and put a modular home here than to fix everything that needs to get fixed. Seriously. The location is amazing. You know, the spot in the community is amazing. But the house is junk. You know, and a couple people asked me too, like, hey, you know, do you have a chance of maybe like buying it? Because it went to a sheriff's sale. And no, even if I had the money, which I don't, I would not want to own this house. I would never be able to flip it or make any profit on it. It would just be a money pit and a hole that I'd be stuck with forever. So yeah, that's that part. So yeah, the whole point of telling you all that was that, you know, I was paying $1,000 a month, but this place, realistically, comparable places, this is a 3-bed, even though it's small, it's very small. It's 850 square foot, I think. But it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, in a prime location, if this house was in good condition, like there was no problems with it, you can easily get $2,000 a month rent. So I was paying half of what it should have been rented out for, had it been properly maintained. So anyway, over the years, we've had lots of scares, let's just say. Right? So, by the way, I've been in this house about 3 or 4 years, roughly, and that's when I met Christina, and she was in Connecticut, and I used to visit her all the time, and then she ended up moving in, we got married. So she's been here with me about 10 years now. But I've been here about 13 years. So, I forgot what I was talking about. I'm watching, there's a little woodpecker. I have a tree that broke, and the little woodpecker's sitting on there. So, it's kind of distracting, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think the point I was trying to make with, okay, so we're moving. So yeah, so that over the years we've had all these different scares where, like, you know, someone, the constable would come knock on the door and be like, hey, you know, you owe taxes. And I'm like, it's not me, I rent, you know. And we've had, you know, people come for sheriff sales and staple paperwork on the trees, and it was a massive hassle, and it was always scary, but he always worked something out. He always figured it out. He always weaseled his way into just like a deal. Oh, I'll make this one payment and we're on track and everything else. So it was total BS, and he's basically been pushing for a long, long time. So again, I don't know for sure, but what I assume the situation is I assume this house was owned. I believe his father paid it off. He inherited it, and he only owed, you know, taxes and other, you know, fees, but I feel like he borrowed against the house. So he probably had a lien in the house from some kind of a loan. And I know, because I've gotten paperwork, that he owed a bank in Florida like $100,000. So that's why, you know, when he would get delinquent with payments and behind, that's when they would, you know, threaten the sheriff's sale and all this kind of stuff. But it always got worked out. This happened probably like 7 or 8 times, where I'm like, me and Christina are like, well, you know, what the hell, you know, we gotta move, you know, but no, he always figured it out. Well, you know what, you can only do that for so long. This time, he did not figure it out. This time, the sheriff's sale was there, and like normal, I wasn't really bothered by it. I texted, hey, you know, we got paperwork, there's gonna be a sheriff's sale. Oh no, I'll figure it out, you know, the bank's gonna call them, or my lawyer's gonna talk to them, whatever, but this time, it got closer and closer and closer, and I kept calling the county, the county office, and asked about it, and they said, no, the sheriff's sale's still on, and then the day came, and no one bid on it. And I'm not sure, because maybe they had to disclose all the debts that are owed, because he owes like tens of thousands of dollars in back taxes too, besides other things, which we'll talk about in the future. Yeah, no one bid on it. So I called the office and I said, oh, you know, what happened with the sale? And they said, because it's public information, they said, well, no one bid on it, but, you know, the bank owns it now. And I said, oh, okay, all right. And then I contacted him, and I still got BS stuff. No, they're going to send paperwork. They don't know yet, but this is this, that, whatever. Okay, fine. So now like a week passes or so, and then we get someone knocking on the door from a local real estate office, and they are letting us know that they're, you know, representing the bank, because the bank's in Florida. They're not going to, you know, fly someone here to give information. So they're representing this bank, and they said, okay, well, just so you know, your landlord no longer owns it. This bank owns it, and here's the contact information. Let's be in touch. So that's what's been going on. I've been in touch with the realtor who's on behalf of the bank, and right now we're under negotiations. I do have a lease, an active lease, until November. The problem is that I don't want to leave in November. I wanted to buy time, and I'll talk in a second about the my lease idea. It was a great idea, but I didn't think of something that's super important. Anyway, so like our plan right now, everything's up in the air. I don't know where we're moving. I don't know what, I have to get a full-time job. Like I said, my YouTube money has been fantastic for maybe like 8-9 years, and then it just would slowly go down every month consistently. You know, I would say like 2013 or so is when the channel peaked as far as finances go. So yeah, I have to find a full-time job. We'll talk about what that means in the future. I post a video every single day, and I've always loved doing that. There might be a time, you know, in the future that I can't do that anymore. I might post once a week, once a month. I don't really know. I'm still going to always post as much as possible. And I'm still, you know, trying to post every single day. But we'll see. I'll keep you guys up to date. We'll talk. I communicate with you guys. I tell you what's going on in my life, right? So, yeah, I don't know where we're moving or technically when. So I'll give you more updates in the future when I know more about that. But what I will say is that when I knew, like, it was getting closer and closer to that sheriff's sale, and I really thought, like, talking to my landlord, like, I don't think he's going to fix it this time. I created a brand new lease with much better terms that benefited us, my wife and I. I extended it for another year. I lowered the monthly payment quite a bit. I put stipulations in there like, you know, the lease can't be broken. Stuff like that to protect ourselves. I thought this was a fantastic idea. Until the witching hour, the very last, like literally 10 minutes to 15 minutes before I had to go down and bring this lease to the realtor so they can send it to the bank. I called my great uncle. My great uncle, who I'm named after, by the way. He is a semi-retired judge in Pennsylvania. He was a lawyer for a long time and a judge. He did specialized type work too, but he knows a lot of stuff. He's a very educated guy, and he knows about laws. And he's not like a specific, you know, real estate lawyer or anything like that. But he has some, you know, ideas of what's going on and friends that know all this kind of stuff. So I called him and I said, hey, here's what I want to do. What do you think? Just to get his advice. And he said, don't do that. He said, that would be a felony, and you might actually go to jail for it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He said, well, it's a form of forgery. It's a form, or not, maybe not forgery, what is it? It's a form of, damn, what's the term? Fraud. So, what it basically, it's almost like on the same lines as insider trading, is how he explained it. So if you know something's going to happen and you create legal documents to change the outcome beforehand, then that is a type of fraud. I didn't know that. And it is a felony. So I'm glad I avoided that. He basically said, like, you know, if you and your, because I had my landlord sign everything. He was totally for it. At that point, I think he knew he'd lose the house. Even right now, he's still lying about not, like, no, you know, I'll figure it out. But he wouldn't have signed it if he didn't really think that, you know, the house was going to be protected. But anyway, that's the whole thing, is that I have his signature and our signature and stuff, and it's dated properly, and it's before the sale. Technically, we did change the lease terms, but because it's so close to a sheriff's sale that I had knowledge about, that the bank can prove, that it would, like, if it went to court, it would be really, really bad for me. And he said, you know, rolling those dice are probably not a good idea. So he highly, you know, recommended I did not do that and just kept the regular lease. So, yeah, my plan got got squashed at the last set, like literally minutes before I brought that lease over. So that was a huge bummer, because what I wanted to do was buy time. That's all. I just wanted more time. I wanted like another year to just save money and figure things out and find a place, but it just wasn't meant to be, I suppose. So right now, like I said, everything's a little bit up in the air, but we'll get stuff figured out, and I'll keep you guys up to date. So that's what's going on in my world. Just busy. Busy, busy, busy. So right now, what my alarm was for is, actually I have to leave. I have to leave in about 5 minutes. Good timing too, because now they're doing some wood cutting. I'm going for a job interview, so wish me luck. I will see you guys another time. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. And that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.